Hey everyone, Evis T here. Welcome back to the show. Mass Effect 3. Yeah, I'm sure you all know where this one's going. Mass Effect 3 has been one of the most anticipated games of 2012, and it's fair to say that it has caused a lot of ire amongst the fans of the series. Most people are quite happy with the game itself. Well, they're happier than they were with ME2 anyway. But the ending has caused no end of flame wars, arguments, and general ranting on the internet. Is it really that bad? Yeah. But why is it bad? Rather than just go off into some rant about it, let's break this down. Let's have a look at this ending and just see what it is about it that causes it to be so badly received. Of course, there will be spoilers. I would have thought that would have been obvious, but given the amount of people complaining about the fact that they've been spoiled in threads about the ending, I thought it's safe to stick in that warning. So, without any further ado, let's take a look at the opening of the ending. Alright, so it starts promisingly enough. You visit Earth after having destroyed the main Cerberus base, and Admiral Hackett comes aboard the ship to deliver an inspiring speech.
But never before have we faced an enemy such as this. The Reapers will show us no mercy. We must give them no quarter. They will terrorize our populations. We must stand fast in the face of that terror. They will advance until our last city falls, but we will not fall.
To give credit where credit is due, this is a pretty well done sequence. The words are nice and inspiring, the imagery is sweeping and dramatic, and the music is also pretty well done. He then, for some reason, moves off to start the briefing. Convention would dictate that you give the inspiring speech just before you go into battle, but hey, maybe he just wanted to get it out of the way? Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so the briefing makes the objective pretty simple. You need to get on board the Citadel via a transport beam which is currently set up directly underneath the Citadel in London. Once we're on board, we open the arms. Once the arms are open, the Crucible can dock and destroy the Reapers via a means that we're still not altogether clear on. One question, why are the Reapers operating out of London? I mean, it's inferred earlier in the game, but why exactly? There are areas with a much higher population density and spread over a larger area. Tokyo, Mexico City, why not set up there? If you wanted to defend a position, wouldn't it make more sense to set up somewhere with wide open spaces so that there's no cover? I mean, we see that conventional weapons don't have much of an effect on Reapers anyway, so why not just park a couple of destroyers next to the beam somewhere in like a Great Plain somewhere, and you can fry anything that comes anywhere near you with your death rays because, well, they've got nothing to hide behind. Well, nitpicking aside, at least it's clear what we're supposed to do. So we pick up our squad, and then we're treated to, well, one of the best cutscenes in the entire series.
Approaching Sol Relay, Commander. We're through the relay in 30 seconds.
This cutscene is awesome. We see all the ships jumping in through the mass relay. We see different kinds of ships, everything from Turian to Alliance to Quarian. We even see a couple of Geth pilots knocking about. This is just wonderfully executed and gives a great sense of achievement to all the hard work that's been put into the series up to this point. Keeping track of all the political connections, keeping an eye on the various wants and needs of the different races and reacting to them, putting yourself out of the way. All of it has culminated in this. The biggest, most badass motherfucking fleet the galaxy has ever seen. And it's you who put it together. I really can't fault this scene. Once the action kicks off, it looks good, it sounds good, it creates a sense of tension whilst at the same time really getting you fired up and ready for the last fight sequence. So, yeah, this is well done. I can't really fault this. Once it's over though, we are of course now in the final stretch of gameplay. I'll spare you the entire gameplay sequence because it's going to be hours of me just hiding behind chest-high walls and shooting at things with a laser gun. Besides, if you've played through this ending, then you'll already know. There is one thing I would like to mention, and that is the ultimate section of gameplay, the very last moments. Most stories will end on an intense high note. The same goes in many video games for the gameplay. You'll find that the whole game builds up to a certain point, and you get a climactic form of gameplay, typically in the form of a last boss fight. It's a common way to finish a game, and also a very good one. It makes sure that the last moments that a player spends playing the game are spent doing something intense, exciting, challenging, and, above all else, rewarding. Hopefully this means that when the player puts down their control pad or quits the desktop, as the case may be, they take some of that feeling with them, and it colours their perception of the entire game. I'm bringing this up because Mass Effect 3 doesn't really go into any sort of climactic gameplay moment. Now, I'm not saying that it needs a boss fight. Many games have done well without them. The Missing Link, the DLC available for Deus Ex Human Revolution, is a very good example of that. Their climactic gameplay is essentially you putting together everything that you've learned over the course of the game in what is basically an obstacle course. There's no big bad guy in it. There's a couple of really tough regular enemies like the robots, but it doesn't need an actual boss fight. But at the same time, it gives the player something to remember and lets them go out of the game on a high note. Now, this lack of a climax of gameplay isn't one of the main reasons why Mass Effect 3's ending is so hated. Many people will cite it though, so I am bringing it up. Let's have a look at what they choose to put in instead. What we essentially get is an endurance round. The setup is simple enough. The Reaper destroyer guarding the transport beam needs to be taken out, but interference from the beam is screwing with the guidance systems on the missiles that you need to use to destroy it. Edie can link the missile's guidance systems to the Normandy's computers to counteract the interference, but she needs time to do so. It's a straightforward setup and works pretty well, establishing urgency and a clear motivation. The problem is that the fight itself is pretty much the same as every other fight in the game. The only real difference here is that a lot more enemies are thrown at you and from all sides. In theory, this could make for an intense Rorke's Drift style last stand, which would be a great note for the game to go out on. However, you don't actually need to stay close to the missile battery to protect it, and there is a far more easily defensible position in a building right next door to the combat zone, meaning you only need to worry about enemies coming from two directions. The only real curveball here then is getting multiple brutes thrown at you at the same time in one wave, and in the last wave, multiple banshees. This ends up making the fight hard, but it just feels a little cheap. Instead of designing a really cool endgame scenario, BioWare instead just opted to throw loads of enemies at you. This does, however, foreshadow the real problem with the ending. Terrible writing and a complete lack of consistency. For one thing, in the final waves of this endurance round, the Reaper is so close that it starts to sweep the area with its death ray. Getting hit by that death ray is an instant kill. Remember this. Yet what amazes me is that the Reaper totally fails to hit the missile batteries, the one thing that can actually pose a threat to it. It's not like it doesn't know they're online, you have to launch one of them before Edie can correct the other one. It's happy to shoot into the general vicinity of Shepard and his crew, but it won't take down the only thing that can actually destroy it. Unless all those sweeps are actually its attempt to hit the batteries and it went to the Imperial Stormtrooper School of Marksmanship. Maybe it's confident that the interference will protect it. But still, why would you not take down the missile batteries and be certain? And even if it is certain that the missiles can't hurt it, and unless it hits it in its weak spot, it won't, why is it happy to shoot at 3 infantry running around on the ground? Anyway, you survive the attack, launch the missile, and destroy the Reaper by shoving the missile straight down into its guns. Clearly Casey Hudson has been watching Independence Day. Next up, a mad dash to the beam as a Sovereign-class Reaper, far bigger than the piddly little destroyer you just popped, fries the rest of your forces around you. Well, no, that didn't actually happen. I'm just messing around. No, Shepard somehow manages to survive this attack. I'm totally serious. Despite the fact we saw less than 2 hours ago that one of these ships can carve apart a Turian frigate in a single volley, and the much smaller destroyer can kill you instantly with one shot from its main gun, and a single Sovereign-class Reaper can hold its own against an entire Citadel fleet, a la the first game, Shepard gets away with serious injuries as opposed to being completely vaporized. Now, I can accept that perhaps the Reaper has some sort of rapid-fire anti-personnel mode, but honestly, this thing is shooting down frontline battle vehicles like gunships and the Mako, and it's taking them down in a single blast. We've seen it doing this less than 30 seconds ago. I don't see how Shepard could survive this in any state. Why exactly the writers chose to give Shepard a set of crippling injuries is also a complete mystery to me. Honestly, it contributes nothing to the ending beyond forcing us to watch Shepard stagger around like the last alcoholic out of the door. Even if I wasn't confused and annoyed that Shepard had just survived a direct hit from an anti-ship Thanix cannon, this contributes nothing. If BioWare wanted to create a dramatic, pushing forwards to my last breath style scene, showing Shepard's true grit and determination, why not add some suitable music? Why not add some suitable imagery? Why have we just got this weird Matrix time stagger? In fact, you know what? Hideo Kojima did this scene, and he did it a hell of a lot better. The microwave corridor scene from Metal Gear Solid 4. Those of you who've played it will know exactly what I'm talking about. For those of you who haven't, well, any description I can give just wouldn't do it justice. Here's a link, okay? Go and watch it. It's got some spoilers in it, but it's not hugely spoilery. The worst thing is the fact that it's a big dramatic point in the game. If you're not going to play it, then, it's not going to be an issue. If you are going to play it, well, if you're touchy about spoilers, you might not want to watch it. Alright, so Shepard goes into the transport beam and is teleported to the Citadel where he finds Jeffrey Dahmer's larder. Apparently, all these corpses piled up everywhere is supposed to be indicative that this is like the Reaper base at the end of Mass Effect 2, and they're making a new Reaper. Because, in Mass Effect 2, they had all the humans compartmentalized and were liquidizing them down and then using the gooey protoplasmic mass to build the Reaper. You know what? Sod it. I'm willing to buy it. Anyway, you begin a very long, very slow, and ultimately completely pointless stagger. Again, I found myself wondering, why was it so important that Shepard be crippled for this sequence? Is there any reason why this has any more emotional weight? I mean, I'm not that arsed about the fact that he's hurt. I'm more interested in the piles of dead bodies which have been massed around him. Anyway, you stagger forward very, very slowly and you find Captain Anderson. Captain Anderson is trying to open the arms, but lo and behold, there's the elusive man. The elusive man is somehow now able to control you. Okay. How can he do that? No, seriously, there's no explanation given. You just see some fuzzy stuff on the screen and you're not got control of your own body anymore. Maybe if Shepard was built with Reaper tech and the elusive man can control the Reapers, he can control Shepard. That makes a sort of twisted sense. But then how is he able to control Anderson? And if this control has nothing to do with Reaper technology, or Shepard doesn't have any bits of Reaper in him when he was rebuilt, then how does this work at all? No explanation is given here, unless there's something in the codexes that I missed. And even then, this is a pretty important part of the plot. You can't just shove this in. How's he doing this? Anyway, the conversation develops pretty much as you would expect it to. I want to control the Reapers to better humanity, blah blah blah. You can't control the Reapers, blah blah blah. You're indoctrinated, blah blah blah. And the elusive man makes you shoot Anderson. At least I think he does. Well, there's a gunshot, but there's no bullet wound. There's no blood. He doesn't seem to react that much. He doesn't fall down. No, I'm pretty certain that you don't really stand up after you've just been shot in the gut. Oh, whatever, maybe it's something to do with this control that's never been properly explained. Anyway, the conversation goes on, and eventually you get the chance to have a renegade interrupt to shoot the elusive man, which of course I do. Why you get this renegade interrupt, by the way, is never explained. Clearly, the elusive man's control over you is sufficient to make you pull the trigger and shoot your best friend in the gut, but it isn't so great as to stop you from shooting him. Go figure. Anyway, the elusive man's been shot. Shepard opens the arms. The elusive man gets his last words. And there is, to be frank, a fairly well done and touching short scene between Shepard and Anderson, where the two of them basically stop for a breather and basically both seem to be settling down to die together.
We did it.
Again, this scene is actually quite well done and emotionally touching.
Yes, we did.
But here is where it starts to get stupid. Just think about that for a moment, okay? We've had Shepard surviving direct hit from Thanic's cannon. We've had Reaper quite happy to shoot at 3 infantry and not the highly destructive missile battery right next to them. We've had utterly pointless crippling of main character. We've had completely pointless walking sequence. We've had completely unexplained mind/body control. We've had someone being shot in the gut and showing no signs of it at all. And this is the part where it gets stupid. People were paid to write what you're about to see. An editor read over it and said, "Yep, okay. Casey Hudson likes this. Roll it."
I don't see. I'm not sure how to.
Commander!
What the fuck?
Wake up.
He must have got his, what will this be, 4th, 5th wind?
What? Where am I?
Citadel. It's my home.
And you are?
Who are you?
I am the catalyst.
Well, yeah, but who are you?
Citadel was the catalyst.
No, the Citadel is part of me.
What are you? Who are you? Who moved the rock?
Do you know how I can do that?
Perhaps I control the Reapers. They are my solution.
Solution? To what?
Chaos. The created will always rebel against their creators. But we found a way to stop that from happening. A way to restore order for the next cycle.
By wiping out organic life?
No, we harvest advanced civilizations, leaving the younger ones alone. Just as we left your people alive the last time we were here.
But you killed the rest.
We helped them ascend, so they could make way for new life, storing the old life in Reaper form.
I think we'd rather keep our own form.
No, you can't. Without us to stop it, synthetics would destroy all organics. We've created the cycle so that never happens. That's the solution.
Words alone cannot express the stupid on display here. Okay, so this thing's plan is to prevent the chaos of synthetic life created by organic life destroying organic life by destroying organic life. No, sorry, not destroying organic life, preserving it in Reaper form. One could argue that by changing the form of something, you are in fact doing the precise opposite of preserving it. Therefore, if I were to take this game disc, render it down into a fine powder, mix it up into a cake, and then eat the cake, and then keep the chocolate log that I lay out a few hours afterwards under my bed, I'd be preserving it. This is stupid. And you know what? The really stupid thing is that this has already happened. The Quarians and the Geth, it's already happened, and guess what? There's galactic law prohibiting the development of AIs, and okay, people have developed them anyway, and yeah, there are Geth out there fighting alongside Quarians, fighting and dying. There are Geth now living inside Quarian suits, helping the Quarians to adapt to their homeworld more quickly. So, yeah, right now the only chaos in the universe are your fucking hermit crabs killing everything that moves. God, this is stupid.
But you're taking away our future. Without a future, we have no hope. Without hope, we might as well be machines, programmed to do what we're told.
You have hope, more than you think. The fact that you are standing here, the first organic ever, proves it. But it also proves my solution won't work anymore.
So now what?
Yeah, you know why?
We
Because the
found
problem you
solution.
created the solution for doesn't exist anymore. Your solution is the problem.
The crucible
If you
changed
control the Reapers,
created
call them off.
possibilities.
Problem
But I
solved.
make it
Synthetics, organics, living
I
together,
know
side
if I
by
destroy
side in
them.
perfect harmony.
You can wipe wipe out all synthetic life if you want, including the Geth.
Why would I want to do that? They're on my side. They're not a problem. You are the problem. The Reapers are the problem. You created the Reapers. Call them off. We don't need a new solution. You are the problem.
Think you can control us.
So, the elusive man was right after all.
Yes, but he could never have taken control, because we already controlled him.
But I can.
You will die. You will control us, but you will lose everything you have.
But the Reapers will obey me?
How the fuck can they obey you if you're dead?
There is another solution.
Yeah.
Synthesis.
And that is?
Add your energy to the crucibles. Everything you are will be absorbed and then sent out. The chain reaction will combine all synthetic and organic life into a new framework, a new DNA.
I don't know.
Why not? Synthetics are already part of you. Can you imagine your life without them?
And there will be peace.
30 seconds ago, you were exhorting me to genocide. This makes no sense. There's no internal consistency here. There is no problem. We don't need a solution. Just call the Reapers off. Are you telling me you can't do that? You created this race of super organic techno-machine things. And you didn't think that maybe at some point this might be a bad idea and needs to have a bit of control? Are you high? Hey, wait a minute, go back.
Releasing the energy of the crucible will end the cycle, but it will also destroy the mass relays.
So, did you get all that? You have 3 options. Destroy all synthetic life, because genocide is the solution to your problems. Take control of the Reapers, although how you're supposed to control them when you're dead, I don't know. Maybe it's some sort of mental transference and you take control of all the Reaper bodies. Although, why the Crucible, or Citadel, or whatever this thing is, can't just call them off, I don't know. You created them, one would assume that you'd have a degree of control over them. Oh, unless, of course, the created will always rebel against their creators, and you created them to stop this cycle and didn't think to include a failsafe in your creation. But I digress. 3rd option, synthesis, some pseudo-evolutionary bullshit. To be frank, if synthetics kill the organic life in every cycle, then the synthetics are the evolutionary superiors, and ergo they are the ultimate in evolution. What you're talking about is closer to genetic engineering or transhumanism. It ain't evolution, not by a long shot. But ultimately, it doesn't matter. And this is the thing which has ground the shit of every Mass Effect fan out there. These 3 endings have nothing to do with the game that you played. It doesn't matter if you killed millions of people, it doesn't matter if you wiped out the Quarians or if you wiped out the Geth, or it doesn't matter if you cured the Genophage or not, it doesn't matter what you did. You still boils down to these same 3 bullshit options. And you know what the hell of it is? Like I said, none of these options are needed. I've demonstrated that synthetics and organic life can exist side by side. I've got the Geth working with the Quarians again. My shipboard AI is the only reason I'm standing here. I don't see the problem anymore. I don't see why we need to sacrifice the entire long-range galactic travel network for a solution to a problem that doesn't exist. All those colonies, with a couple of hundred people, they're going to be screwing their cousins within a few generations once those mass relays go down. That's assuming that they're actually self-sufficient and don't simply starve without supply ships. What about the Volus? They're dependent on intergalactic trade for pretty much everything. Where do they end up when people can't ferry goods around? This baffles me. It makes no sense at all. It's just a cruel, mean-spirited ending. It's not bittersweet. Shepard gets killed no matter what you do, but that's not the point. The point is that you are screwing over the entire galaxy no matter what you do because you're destroying the mass relays. And from the perspective of a player, nothing you've done matters. Nothing you've done can change that. This is why people are so angry. This is why it's so stupid. And all this crap tacked on at the end is completely unnecessary. Completely. Honestly, what is wrong with Shepard sacrifices himself, holding power coupling together to make Crucible fire? If you really need to kill Shepard off to get an emotional response, oh, by the way, killing off characters is the technique of a hack. Very few do it very well. Very few. If you really, however, need to kill the character off in order to get an emotional response from us, there was no need to tack all this extra crap on at the end. The Reapers were a fine, perfectly credible threat. They worked as a plot device. They worked as villains. We hated them. We wanted to see them stopped. We didn't need them justified. This thing with the Crucible, pointless. These 3 endings, pointless. And just when you think it couldn't possibly get any worse, you know, these 3 endings, these 3 different endings, they ain't different. No, I'm serious. They ain't different. I'll show you the one I picked. Go to YouTube and have a look at the other 2.
And that's it. That's how the game ends. We get zero closure, zero resolution. We don't know what happened after the final act. We don't know what happened in the universe at large. We don't know what happened to the characters. All we know is mass relays are now all destroyed, and Joker is happy sitting on, well, marooned on Jungle Planet, possibly with giant saber-toothed cats. I like that idea a lot. It wasn't enough that all those choices we made ultimately don't matter. It wasn't enough that we're forced to pick one of 3 arbitrary decisions to solve a problem that we've already solved. It wasn't enough that the 3 endings you get from these are exactly the same cutscene with a few minor texture swaps. We don't get any closure. That is the real thing that makes this ending so bad for me personally. I want to know what it was that happened. I don't need a huge, sprawling epic. I don't need Metal Gear Solid 4's hour and a half ending cutscene to wrap everything up. I'd have settled for a Dragon Age style picture of the character with a short written description of what happened to them once the events of the story had finished. I'd settle for that, but they wouldn't even give us that. It's a terribly written ending. It fails on a technical level. It has no structure. It has no rhyme. It has no reason. It has no purpose. Most of it is completely redundant and pointless. None of that bullcrap with the Crucible needed to be there at all. And all of that section was the bit that screwed it up royally. I probably would have just been extremely irritated that I didn't get the resolution of the characters if that bit had just been cut out. If it had just been Shepard needs to die doing something to activate the Crucible, which then destroys all the Reapers, that would have been fine. Well, no, it wouldn't have been fine, but it would have been acceptable. Disappointing, but acceptable. Instead, BioWare were scrambling for something to give the ending a little bit more, poignant? Meaning? Purpose? It just didn't work. At all. Well, that's it. I picked apart this ending as best I can. I may well do a written review on this at some point to try and go into a bit more detail about a few other bits and pieces, but really, there's nothing more to say. It's a terrible piece of writing. It's an extremely disappointing ending. The actions that we have taken had absolutely no impact on it, and that reskinning of the final scenes was just extremely lazy, as was the complete lack of resolution. I do not understand how BioWare could shit out a turd this stinky and terrible. Well, I'll see you all again soon. There'll be more reviews coming, more articles. Love and peace.